Yep.
live. Yep, there we go.
That's live.
Yay! So, guys, you got something to show me?
Yes.
Pam, did you make any changes?
No, I did not make any changes.
Alright.
I just was viewing yours, that's all I did. I pulled it from there. So, the changes that you made this morning.
I'm not sure, Josh, if you would be the best to explain since you did the code last night.
Well, I'd say the key thing is I would say somebody get a screen share on and start showing rather than talking. That's I mean, talking is good as well.
Yeah.
But it's the showing that's the critical thing.
Oh, right. I was just delegating Josh to show the screen because...
No, that's cool. Yeah, no, I'll look at Josh's screen.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just waiting for my Rails server just to boot up, just to show you what we've got on the front end going at the moment.
Sure.
There we go.
Yes. So what I'll often do going into a client meeting is I'll have the server running and ready to show them. But anyway, here goes a localhost. Yes.
Yep.
So this is showcase.
Let's
Wonderful.
just
Yes.
Give it a second just to decide to load. There we go. Right. So have you? I'm not sure how much Rich showed you yesterday. Has he shown you the whole add a project feature?
No, he showed me this page because this was the only bit that was working for him yesterday.
All right. We can add a project. We can put in a title.
Oh, he did show me. He showed me that page as well.
Okay, yeah.
But yes, yep. And he said you could upload an image and stuff.
Yes.
Cool.
Then the other bit we've got set up is signing up, which is for charities to do. So at the moment, it's got the fields for organisation title, charity number or non-profit number, then email for them to sign up with. So and then parts of these are required. So organisation title is needed. Josh, no. And then we've got all that set up. And then I understand you weren't overly keen on separating them out, but
well, I think I had a discussion with Richard, and I think breaking a complex form into a series of things is fine. I was just worried that you guys were starting to think that the charities should be submitting separate requests for like separate projects and this, that, and the other, and that seemed to be getting not so much the actual form, but it seemed like on the back end that might get more complex than what we immediately need, if you know what I mean.
Okay. So we've only got it set up at the moment on the front end so that the users can sign up.
Yes. Do you want to actually do the sign up and just like type in the stuff and then like click sign up and we'll just see what happens?
All right. Oops. Yeah. And then I need password.
I would do like just 1 to 8. Like I get the keyboard and go whoosh. That's super fast.
Sign up. Not now. Yeah. So we've got it so it's sign in, and we'll have it so that we have a separate bit saying go over to view the charity projects for their requests for help.
No, remember, you're not viewing charity projects, you're reviewing charities. The idea is it's a list of charities, not a list of charity projects, right? For the charities, right? There's a showcase, which is a list of projects, and then there's a list of charities, not a list of charity projects. Yeah.
Right. So charity will.
The idea is
they only want to be listed if they.
It would then go to a page where they can. It would then go to a page where they can submit their request for help.
Right, and this is that's fine. I mean, I guess the or that they can basically rather than saying it's a request for help so much, they can fill in more details of their profile.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Because. Just thought it was just easier just to have them sign in first, sign up, sign in first kind of thing, and then tell you what they want and what help they need.
That might be easier. I think that you guys have made an assumption there that we haven't validated against how you've anticipated how you think charities might use the site or might find it easier to use the site, and maybe they won't if it's just a sign up and they're like, why do I want to sign up? Whereas if there's a big box saying, this is why I want to help, maybe, I don't know for sure, maybe that would be the thing that would actually entice them to sign up. Do you know what I mean? Like, because maybe the key thing that they want to express is their need for help, not choosing a username or a password. And so maybe actually the expressing the need for help should come first, and then we ask them for that information first, and they create their account as the next step. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Sorry, I was just under the assumption that because when they land on the project page, the showcase page, that was really what was the enticing thing to get them to ask for help.
Yes, but then I think what you have. I mean, I think I'm probably not telling you anything that you don't know. But so, for example, you can have an enticing and exciting page, and then you can have the a button which says tell us about your charity, you need to get help, and or some other call to action on a website, and people click through, and then there's like a form to like fill in like with a create a password or whatever, and people are kind of like, oh yeah, I'll do it next week, because they're not asked that thing. I mean, does anybody actually enjoy choosing passwords and stuff and usernames and whatever? Like, I'm not saying this like as a like you must do it this way. I'm just trying to break down the idea that the important thing is to keep these things as assumptions, right? And to be aware of them as assumptions, and that actually, we won't know what's the right way to build the site until we actually get it, have real end users interacting with it. And so the important thing is to try and avoid, to do the simplest thing, And in fact, if for you guys now, just putting the the sign up thing first is the simplest thing, yeah, then that's cool. The critical thing is that we get whatever kind of flow through the site, we actually get that and show that to some charity person, as soon as possible. And of course, that's one of the reasons why we do things in Balsamic. Like, if it takes you a couple of days to put together the Rails thing, if one is imagining the different flows through the site, yeah, then in principle one can be testing it in the Balsamic before you do any stuff with the Rails. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so and again, so I'm not I think it's great what you've got started here. So don't feel that I'm kind of criticizing you in any way. But did you see what I mean about if the point at which you ask for help, you immediately get this sort of series of 8 things, like it could be that actually that might be off-putting for some people. But who knows, right? I mean, do you think for certain which way is the best way?
Well, I think the thing is like anyone, whether they're signed up or not, can have access to seeing the showcase. But then, the reason why we have the sign up is so that their information can persist, so that they don't, you know what I mean? Like when they type in the information for their particular project, then it'll,
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, I totally understand the reasoning, but you may notice. I mean, I just had this in Spotify. Like, do you guys know Spotify? Yeah. Like they had the thing, and they popped up a little thing saying like, are you happy with Spotify or whatever? And I just clicked yes, and then it like revealed another bit of a form, and so that you can still persist that. For example, you could have a first thing like which is just a single text area which said describe your charity technology need, right? And then when you hit submit for that, the next screen would reveal it says, oh, create an account to save this data for later. Do you know what I mean? So you've kind of got the people telling you the thing that you want, and you can persist it afterwards. It's not a prerequisite that they have actually set a password before they start telling us what their charity need is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, no, you would disagree?
No, I'm just thinking through it. I'm wondering how much of a difference that would really make, since they, would have to submit the form anyway. Like if they were deciding to go down that road.
Well, absolutely, and I'm not saying that I'm the oracle of knowing exactly how people would use the system or this that and the other. I think the important thing is that what we should do is say we don't know the answer to that question, and so we do whatever is the simplest possible thing to do, and we as quickly as possible we show it to actual users, and we try to see how they interact with it. But I think there is also quite a lot of research on I mean you're explicitly taking a longer form and reducing it to make it shorter, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because you've got this idea that if it's a long form, well, I think we'd all agree, right? In general, studies have shown that if you give people a really long form, fewer of them will fill it in.
Right.
Right. But so, and I think there is for all the people you get landing on a site and clicking through to something, the number that actually decide to sign up or decide to create a user account or whatever, it goes through this funnel, right? Of starts with like lots of people who click through, who land on the site, who click through on the banner, like this, right? And so every obstacle is something that reduces the number of people who get to the next stage. And so I don't know. I would hypothesize that maybe having the question about what you wanted up first is kind of a way of reeling the people in. But who knows? I mean, ultimately, one would have to do experiments to work that out. But since you've done it this way, I think let's continue with that.
I'm just not sure if it would really be reeling them in, or if it would just be seen as like another step in the process. You know what I mean? Like instead of just doing it all at once, whether it would be more like, oh, do you want, like maybe it would be deceptively easy. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, exactly. And in some ways, what I want to do is I want to cast doubt into your minds about these things, because the danger for us as developers is that we're seeing it from the point of view of from the point of view of the database in the system, we have to have a user account in order to persist the data, which is something we want to do. It's not necessarily something that when the user is using the system and is in the act of using it, that they necessarily care about. So ideally, we want to be, although obviously we have to cope with those constraints, we have to be open to building the flow of the site in different directions. Anyway, I mean, I think let's leave that. We certainly discussed that item enough. Josh, did you want to actually show me the creation of a project there as well? You showed me the creation of a user. Did you want to show me the creation of the project as well?
I can't really, but I can show you. But I can't.
Because
the only thing I could really do is show you the back-end code.
No. But
there isn't anything on the front end to create one.
In that form, though, you had that form where it had description and link and title and whatever, and there was a submit button. If you typed in some stuff and clicked submit, what would happen?
Oh. But this is still in the showcase. That's the only thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's Josh. A random picture.
I don't know. I'm wondering if there's any benefit in maybe doing also like an option as sign up as guest, and then their information would just be temporary.
Or if it was a case of just upload a project without signing up, which in that case would it wouldn't like it's basically like a temporary thing where we take them to a different form where they have to input more data, more similar to the original Google Doc that you've got.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that would probably be like more annoying.
Well, and I think what one can of course argue backwards and forwards about which thing would be more or less annoying, but the bottom line is that one should not trust necessarily 100% one's own instincts in this regard, because what the history of user interface design has shown us is that when you put people with the system, they often end up using it in a very different way than the designers expect, which is why the whole Agile process is all about making things as quickly as possible and doing it in paper or doing it in Balsamiq or wireframing tools and getting that stuff and the flow and the options in front of the key stakeholders as early as possible, right? So that when you're doing the heavy lifting of putting the code in place, that you are, you've already, you're going to avoiding the need to change it over and over again, because the code is much more difficult to change than the wireframing tool or the paper mock-ups that you made to sort of show the flow through the site, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But this is okay. Yeah, so you can basically for the charity showcase, you can get some stuff. You can get an image up, and that's all cool. Yeah, I mean, go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna. That's the thing for the link, and then we can edit it by just clicking that. We can go through or delete it.
Yes. Cool. Well, that's a great base to have working. I mean, the interesting thing is that, I guess one of the things that you've been wrapping your heads around there is devise and authentication and getting that working. One way of testing you could have made things simpler for yourselves by not having any authentication in the first instance and just creating a system where anybody could create anything. Do you know what I mean?
That's the route we were going down, and then we spoke to Sam.
Uh-huh.
The other Sam. At
Yes.
which point he suggested we do the
authentication. Okay, fair enough.
So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a judgment call there about, one can say, oh, we're going to need it eventually, so we might as well have it. I would say, in terms of, from my point of view, the crucial thing.
Don't do it until you need it.
Well, I'm generally on don't really need it, and in some ways, for me, I mean, it depends. Like for you guys, it's your project as well, and so to the extent that you want to practice putting a device system in and getting that working, that's all very, very valuable. From my point of view as the end client, I care because ultimately, maybe it's going to be like people want to use their LinkedIn accounts to sign up for it, or we know that authentication can be done. The question in my mind is, it's about the operation and flow through the site. Let me show you just a quick example of something that came out of I want a new window like this, so with Adventure, the site itself, there's a process that I go through pretty much every week, where I am creating these. We just had our 100th meeting actually for the level support thing, but I'm repeatedly going through this process of creating a new document here. I think I was showing you the other day, and it kind of takes me to this separate page, and I have to type the title in here, and then I have to submit it, and I have to come back, and it's kind of like this 3-step process that's kind of this irritating additional thing that I have to do each time, and it's sort of, for me, the real skill in kind of creating interfaces with Rails and Node or what have you is to kind of provide these funnels that allow the users to move through to get the job that they want done in the smallest number of possible steps. But again, it comes down to one can make all sorts of guesses about what's going to work and what's not going to work. Putting that stuff in front of the real user and having the real user do it without telling them what to do is the acid test. So one wants to do that as early as possible. Can I give you any other feedback? I know I tend to go off on these like rants and diatribes, which I'm sure you're completely sick of by now. Is there anything? Yeah. Were there any particular questions that you wanted to ask me?
I think the key questions are regarding what's already been asked. It still feels to me, Sam, that you're kind of like the example that you showed us in the beginning, the free bootcamp website.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. The way they just go directly to the form, and they don't have to log in or something. They just add their project, their interest in there straight away. They don't have to sign up,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I would certainly say
that's less work, I guess, for anyone who's interacting.
Yeah. Although, indeed. Although what I would say is that still though it's not ideal. Like like you're saying, it goes through. This I wouldn't be saying to you like do this thing, because the problem with this is that people can sign up, but then it's like no one can browse that unless they have access to the underlying Google form, and arguably this form is too long. I like where you're going in terms of splitting the form up into the different components, right? I mean that's I think we all agree that long forms are off-putting.
Sam, I'm just curious. So if somebody was to fill in that form, and then later, after clicking the submit button, 5 minutes later, they're like, "Oh no, I should have done this. I should have done that."
Right.
Can they actually edit it afterwards? Can they go back? Or do they have to refill in the form?
That can be set up with Google Forms. I don't know if FreeCodeCamp have done it with their form. I mean, it's that there's absolutely the ability to edit it subsequently, but I would still argue that in some way, like it's this question: how can FreeCodeCamp help you in our Charity Jamboree one? It's the kind of we want to focus on. I mean, I have in this. If I go into the form, there's an option in here. It's like to allow responders to edit responses after submitting, but then you have to have like a Google login and so on, and it all gets a bit messy in my opinion. But again, it's sort of and in some ways, we shouldn't spend too much time arguing about exactly what sequence the bits of the broken form go through. I think the key thing that I would like to see that FreeCodeCamp doesn't have is that as soon as a charity fills this stuff in, that information should kind of immediately become available to the community, not just to a subset of pre-approved admins. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that'll be like a separate showroom, but for open projects. Yeah.
Well, or just charities, a list of charities who are looking for.
I mean, wasn't
an open
that
project.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Yeah, that's what we're heading.
Could I just say, Sam? Sorry, and I know we don't want to hold you up forever, but the free code camp one. They are so many ridiculous. This was the thing about the forum, okay? That the free code camp asks so many ridiculous questions for charities. Our developers use modern full-stack JavaScript technologies, and so 99% of the charities signing up for this have no idea what MongoLab database hosting is.
Yeah, really not.
I totally agree with you. Yes.
And I sit on the board of a drop-in centre for the homeless.
Yes.
And nobody would have a single clue what most of these questions are. And when you ask what help they want, it'd be a line. Oh, we need a website, and that'd be it.
Yeah, they really have no idea.
Okay, so I think we're both on the same page there, because if you notice, like on the one that is our form, we don't have any of those kinds of questions. So
absolutely. So really, it was that's why I honestly think and again, I know it's an assumption, but it's got to be so simple for them to do.
We are 100. We could not agree anymore. If we merged our minds and turned into sort of a combined being, it absolutely has to be simple. But what we must, I think, also agree is that what you've got now, where you're asking for them to create the account and password and so on, that doesn't necessarily have to come first in order to achieve that simple objective, does it?
No, I guess it was really how do they edit their information? How do they update their stuff?
I can tell you exactly how. So, for example, you could have a form that was exactly this, that described the IT challenge or whatever you call it, with a single text box, right? You click submit, right? That gets stored in the session or even in the database, under the current account, and then the next screen is now, in order to edit this later, please, sign up with these details. And then the user account is created afterwards and subsequently connected to the data that was originally stored.
Okay, so we basically leave what we've got in place, but then make the other form appear first. Make this appear first.
Right. But what I would say is, don't rush off and do that, right? Because you've already got it working this way round. I just want to make sure that you're aware that you could be doing it the other way round. But since you've done it this way, let's carry on with this way. And let's get this as quickly as possible into a thing where we can kind of show something to a charity person and see if they find it simple. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because at this point, I think even the way we have it, we're just trying to make that sign-up form as simple as possible. Because even though we do have like a space for, I don't know if we have it anymore, but we had like a space for like organization contact number, but we made it so that it doesn't need to validate the presence of that. So it's not
right.
as if you need it. Yeah. It's just kind of like we just have like the essentials email password.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. You're going for very, very, very simple there. But note that I feel quite strongly about that. There are a lot of people who are just put off by having to create a new password and do password confirmation. So absolutely, you've gone simple in that direction, but there are other ways to go simple, such as that sequencing. Anyway, we can draw a line under that. Is there anything else you need from my side?
Sam, I just
have
an idea about a multi-level sign-up. Like first page could contain like unnecessary details about the organization, and then there will be a advanced details button at the end. If you want to fill in some boring details, you can click on and go on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not saying that all of these things should be on the first, but I really love what you're doing in terms of making the form simpler. Yeah, and so absolutely, you can move on and they can fill in other details afterwards. That's a very common pattern. Like if you've all used PayPal, right? And PayPal, you sort of create an account, and then it's got a thing like saying your details are 60% up to date. They're 80%, and they're giving you incentives and offers to try and get you to fill more details in. So yeah, absolutely, that's great. Yeah, I mean, but I think the exact form of it doesn't matter so much, really. Yeah, but that's. I assume that's what you're, Balint, when you're saying that, that's what you guys are going for at the moment with, only the first page, you've got these 6 fields, just your name, number, and email and passwords, and you haven't built it yet, but I assume the next stages are adding more data, right?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. As I say, don't take me as saying that you need to go off in a different direction now. I just wanted you to consider that possibility. What are the next steps for you now? You've sort of built this base. You've got the ability to upload the showcased items. You've got the ability for a charity to sign in. What are your next steps going forward?
Next step would probably it's just to actually build up to let the charities create their requests for help, essentially,
right,
and have like a homepage to display all of them, and have like the forms for them to create new ones.
Right. Yes.
As well as the idea was if a charity had more than one thing they wanted help with, you could click on the charity and it'd display everything that they needed help with.
Yes. I still hear in what you're saying a kind of an assumption of like there's a charity,
and I know
a one-to-many relationship between one charity has many help requests, and we're looking at the list of help requests. And I guess ultimately, if that's what you really want to build, far be it from me to stand in the way of you guys building that. But I guess what I'm looking for is something simpler, which is just the charity. There are charities, and the charities have descriptions associated with them, and in the description they might write down, as additional information, the kinds of things they're interested in being helped with. So the process of asking for help is just what, like Balint was saying there, is just it's filling out more details in your profile rather than creating a new entity. That sounds like you've got that one-to-many relationship in your mind. Am I putting words in your mouth, Josh?
Yeah, you did kind of cut out just then for us.
Okay.
Sam. Hello?
Go on, Parminder. Hello, Parminder.
Oh,
can you hear me?
Sorry, you kind of broke up there. Sorry.
Okay.
I was thinking, when you go onto like, say, a price comparison website or something, and you fill in all that data, say if you're buying home insurance or whatever, and at the end you have the option if you want to register or not.
Yes.
But you don't have to. You can just click submit, and that's it.
Yeah. Yes. That's right. I mean, that's what I'm saying is something that might be possible. Sorry, if what I was saying before cut out, I'll just try again. Going back to so Josh, you were describing there the next step is charities submitting requests for help, and I was just picking up on the language you were using there, which it sounds like you're imagining that there's a one-to-many relationship between charities and requests for help. Am I putting words in your mouth if I say that?
It's more a case of we were wanting to put the option for a one-to-many if they wanted it. So if they could only list one.
Yeah.
And that would only be displayed as one on the.
Right. So I'm just saying, like, if that's what you guys really want to build, far be it from me to stand in the way of you building it that way. I'm just saying it could be simpler, right? You just have the charity has a profile. They put the request for help in the description, and that allows us to get to a working prototype, an MVP, faster, because you don't need the additional model, right? Yeah. So, but anyway, absolutely, that's the next step. Is certainly allowing the charities to kind of provide that additional information. But if you, I would just say, as I always do, go simple. Do the simplest thing to get something basic, so that maybe on Monday we could be starting to show the flow to a charity organization and get some feedback on how they might use it. Or I don't know. Do you feel like you maybe don't want to show it to anybody until the Friday graduation?
Personally, I think that depends how it goes in the next couple of days, really.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can manage to get some CSS, HTML stuff going soon, then I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to show some charities just because it would be a good, input from somebody who's actually the kind of person who's gonna be using it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know how much we could do at that point, though. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
by the time they see it, then.
Well, that's what I mean in some ways. Like, from my point of view, you don't need any CSS and HTML to show it to a charity person, because the key thing that you're studying is the flow through the system, not that it's in the right color scheme or it looks like this, that, and the other. And so almost, it's kind of... I got the sense talking to Richard yesterday that there was a kind of reticence about showing things because they're not kind of ready, whereas I think, the earlier the better. But anyway, I mean, I don't know, I have this, I guess, a pet thing about like, the key thing for me about any of these sites and systems is about the user experience. But maybe that's less important because you guys, it's just building the back end is the key thing, and that's where you want to focus, and maybe the exact flow that the user takes through the site is not such a big deal for you guys.
The only reason I say that is about the HTML and the CSS is just because, like, coming from someone who did nothing with programming before starting this, basically, I'm not quite sure that people would be used to seeing something so bare bones, and I'm not sure if that experience would affect how they felt about it, even though they're asked to be assessed, like, how the flow is, you know what I mean? Like, coming from, having done this course this amount of time, now I can see, like, what exactly you would actually be asking me, like how, basic navigation works, whether they find it convenient or, annoying to go from place to place. But, like, I'm not sure that, that would be completely evident to someone who's maybe not.
No. Although, I mean, I've been working with these charities for the last 3 years, and I've been showing them I started by showing them, like, paper drawings, and then mock-ups in Google Sites, and then things like what you have, and getting feedback at every stage of the way. And I've developed relationships with these charities, and I have found, has saved me hours and hours and hours and hours of work in terms of not having to redo things and so on and so forth. So, I totally understand your reticence there. Like, could these people... I think from my experience, the answer is yes. But in particular, there was Rachel who presented at the jamboree, charity jamboree last week. I've been working with her very, very closely, showing her prototypes of different bits and pieces every week, week after week after week after week. And I spoke to her yesterday for our regular client meeting. She's very happy to look at anything you have. It doesn't even have to be a session. Like, you can just, if you push a site up to Heroku, I can play around with it and I can show it to her in a session and record that for you to watch and so on. So that's available there as a resource for you guys at any time. You just have to ask and I will make it happen. Okay. How guys and anyway, so other than that, are you guys, I mean, this is the final product, how are you doing? Are you guys getting enough sleep? Yeah?
No.
Not really.
No. It's you can sleep, after next Friday. No, make sure you get some sleep. That's really important. You're doing, I mean, this is great. I hope you don't take it as me coming and saying, oh, no, it should be this way than that round. I just want to make sure that your minds are open to the range of possibilities.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting a sense of maybe that you don't like the way it's going, so I'm not sure.
No, I love what you're doing. I guess what I sense is that you guys are. It feels like you're a little bit reticent. Like you kind of, you don't necessarily want to show the like that. As you were saying there, like you were finding it hard to imagine that feedback from a charity person would be not so useful before you've had a chance to kind of pretty it up. It's kind of like my experience suggests otherwise, and I guess I was sort of hoping to have you guys be able to avail yourself of some of the benefits of the things that I've been doing. But that's fine. I really like what you've got. You've got a great base there, which is that you haven't spent ages trying to make CSS and HTML. You've got, okay, we can upload a file. The basics of the charity showcase are exactly there. They're exactly there. And in some ways, if I was just a client and I wasn't an educator here, I'd be like, yes, sir, right, let's move on. But in the interest of your education, because that's also one of the things I care about. I think, you know, I was trying to pick apart some assumptions there, but I hope that doesn't make you feel bad. I don't know. It's difficult in Hangouts, and who knows what's going on. But yeah, so anyway, consider the ideas. Don't just radically, carry on in the direction you're going. Don't radically change, but just be, open to the assumptions as you move forward. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I'll continue to be available. I'm offline over the weekend, but 3:45 later on today, first thing on Monday morning, I continue to be available. I am a resource for you to use. Maybe you're like, oh, wait a second, we don't want to talk again. He's nasty. He keeps on talking. Bad person. Go away. Do get some sleep this weekend at some point if you possibly can. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye for now. How do you turn this thing off? I'm trapped in a box.
I'm gonna say, Winnie, don't you have to switch off live?